Hi, my name is Ashley and I'm a mom of two little girls. I have a 4-year-old named Kylie and I also have a 2-year-old named Mia. Now, as many of you already know, I am a huge book nerd. I have read more books than I can count at this point related to Montessori and parenting, among others, as you can see evidenced on the shelf here behind me. And I realized the other day that it has been well over 2 years since I last published a video related to some of my favorite parenting books. And if you haven't seen that video, I will put a link to that one in the description box down below. But it did get me thinking about the fact that I've read a lot of books in the last 2 years, and so I'm well overdue for an update video for you guys. So from one busy parent to another, today I'm going to be sharing with you my top 5 favorite Montessori books for parents. Okay, so before I share my favorite books with you, I did also want to share something else with you that's coming up that's really exciting. Now, I am a lifelong learner, and especially so as a parent, because I'm always looking for ways to improve my parenting so that I can be the best mom that I can be for my children. And I'm sure many of you can relate. I have found that a really great way to do that, aside from reading parenting books, is by attending online conferences, because you can do it from the comfort of your home in your pajamas while you're sipping a cup of coffee on your own schedule. It's just really convenient. And there is a really amazing online global Montessori conference coming up at the end of June called Discovering the Child, which is going to feature 67 different speakers from all over the Montessori community, including some really familiar names like Angeline Lillard, who is the author of the book Montessori, The Science Behind the Genius, as well as Simone Davis, who is the author of The Montessori Toddler, and Junifa Uzudike, who is the co-author along with Simone Davis for the brand new book, The Montessori Baby, that just came out earlier this month. And I am so incredibly honored to have been invited to speak alongside some of these amazing Montessorians as the parent keynote speaker for the conference. Now, the conference does run for 2 days on June 25th and 26th. And my talk, which is called Montessori for the Modern Parent, will run on June 26th at 12:45 p.m. Mountain Time, after which I will be doing a live Q&A session. So if you are interested in learning more about the conference or registering for a ticket, I will put a link in the description box down below that will take you right where you need to be. I am so incredibly excited for this event, and I sincerely hope that I will see all of you there. All right, so these books are in no particular order because what I did was go through my book collection and try to pick out what I felt was like my top favorite, my top pick from a couple of different general categories, and you'll see what I mean as we go through the books. So the first one, which I selected as my overall favorite, is this one. It's called The Joyful Child by Susan Maitland Stevenson. And I just love this book so much because it truly is written for a parent. Like when you're reading it, you're like, yes, this book is for me. Because there are so many Montessori books out there that are very heavy on jargon and theory and philosophy, and they're just too wordy. Like it's hard to wrap your head around, especially if you're trying to just squeeze in a chapter right before you fall asleep at night. But this book is like the complete polar opposite because it's laid out in a very logical way that speaks to the way a parent's mind functions. It talks about your child's development from ages 0 to 3, and then it goes into all the different little smaller areas, like how to set up activities and how to prepare other areas of your home and how to interact with your child. And it really breaks down Montessori in a very understandable way. And I loved the book. By the time I was done reading it, I was like, why wasn't this the first book that I ever read? Because it would have just opened my eyes that much faster to all of the things that I eventually learned. But, it broke it down right away just in this one book. And I was like, this was so worth the time that I spent reading it. And I am often asked by other parents for my top #1 favorite pick out of all the books that I've read. If I had to choose just one, which one would I suggest for a new Montessori parent? Something that can give them a solid introduction without getting too heavy into the theory, but also with some practical ideas for a child of any age group. And if I had to make a decision on that right now, this would be the pick. Now, with all of that said, I know that there are still many of you out there who are parents after my own heart who love to nerd out about Montessori stuff and want to learn as much as they can. And who better to learn from than Dr. Montessori herself? So my second pick on this list is The Absorbent Mind by Dr. Maria Montessori. This is a timeless classic that is often read actually in Montessori teacher training programs as well. But I think that out of the books that I've read that she's written, and I've read a couple, this is the one that is easiest to understand and likely most applicable for many of you watching this video, because it does cover children from the ages of 0 to 6, which was the period of the absorbent mind. And I know many of you are parents of very young children. So if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty of Dr. Montessori's theory and philosophy and almost feel like you're having a chance to pick her brain because it's her book, I mean, it's written in her own words. If you want to really take a deeper dive into Montessori and look beyond how to set up your shelf and really get into the why of Montessori, then this book is definitely your go-to resource. Now, my next favorite book is not exactly Montessori specific, but if you read the book, you will very quickly realize that it is absolutely Montessori aligned without actually saying so. And it's the book Simplicity Parenting by Kim John Payne. Now, this book is one that I read a very long time ago. I think I actually had read it when I filmed the previous 5 Great Books for Parents video. I just didn't include it in that list because it wasn't a Montessori specific book. But this is a book that I have come back to and read on more than one occasion because it has so deeply resonated with me. The things that I read in this book have stuck with me over the last 4 years now, which is why I feel like it deserves inclusion on this list. And the general premise of the book is exactly what the title implies. It's about taking a giant step back out of our super chaotic and busy adult lives to simplify things at home for our children so that we can learn, and he does offer some really practical ways on how to do this, but learn how to declutter our homes and our kids' environment so that they can feel calmer and be able to engage more deeply in their play, so that we can establish some rituals and rhythms to our home that our children can look forward to, and just in general to have more time to just connect with our children and just be as a family. And I don't know about you, but that's something that I can get on board with as a parent, which is why I think it has stuck with me for so long. I was actually thinking to myself earlier today that the author of the book is almost kind of like the Marie Kondo for childhood, if that makes any sense. I know it's a really silly thing to say, but that's generally how I feel. Like he's teaching us how to declutter childhood for our kids just so that we can get back to basics. So if you are feeling at all like the last year has just been a little bit crazy and chaotic for you and you really want to find that reset button, then I genuinely feel like this book would be really helpful. Now, the next book on my list is related to a topic that I am asked about almost daily by viewers. And it's the book that I wish I had known existed when I first began this journey. It's called Toilet Awareness by Sarah Mowdrey. Now, this book follows the exact Montessori philosophy, protocol, whatever you want to call it, behind the toilet learning process from A to Z. It's a very short read, as you can see. I think I read it in like a half hour, and it's very practical. It walks you through potty learning step by step so that there is absolutely no way that you could mess it up if that's something that you're worried about. Again, I didn't even know that this book existed when we first began our toilet learning journey with our oldest daughter. And so I had to go to all of these different resources and kind of piece everything together like a giant puzzle and almost figure it out through trial and error. And fortunately, we were successful, after which I was able to make a potty training video for you guys, which many of you have found very helpful. I will put a link to it in the description box down below in case you're interested in checking it out. But if you are looking for something that is in print that you can refer back to, again, that's super easy to read, then this would definitely be a book to have on hand. All right, so this brings me to my 5th and final selection for my top favorite books. And it's related to a topic that we probably have the most questions about when it comes to parenting: discipline. So the book is called No Bad Kids, Toddler Discipline Without Shame by Janet Lansbury, who is actually not really involved in the Montessori community per se. She is actually one of the foremost experts currently in the field of respectful parenting, otherwise known as RIE, which stands for Resources for Infant Educators, which was a movement actually started by Magda Gerber back in the 1970s. Now, if you've never heard of RIE or respectful parenting before, then I would highly recommend looking into it and learning a little bit more about it, because there is a lot of overlap between the RIE approach and Montessori philosophy. They're not the same thing, but again, a lot of overlap, and I find that a lot of the things that I read in regards to discipline and the way that's handled in the respectful parenting approach very much resonates with me as a Montessori parent. And so I often find myself, when I'm in a pickle with my own children related to a very specific discipline problem, going back to her books that I have read several times now, going to her blog, listening to her podcast, and looking for some answers to some of my own questions. And there are even many of you who have messaged me in the past with your own specific questions, and you've heard me wax poetic about how amazing Janet Lansbury is. So if you are looking for some guidance on how to approach discipline in your home in a respectful manner that aligns with your Montessori parenting, then I would highly recommend checking out this book, especially if you have a toddler. And even if you have a baby, eventually they're gonna be a toddler, and this has been an amazing resource for me. So I'm recommending it to you guys. All right, so those are my top 5 favorite books for Montessori parents, but I do have one bonus suggestion for you guys before we end the video. It is a book that I have not read yet myself, but I know it's going to be awesome based on my previous experiences. It is the book, The Montessori Baby by Simone Davis and Junifer Uzudike. It is the sequel book to Simone Davis's original, The Montessori Toddler, which is actually on the shelf right here behind me. And that is a book that I mentioned in the previous video that I made 2 years ago on my other favorite books for you guys to read. So again, I haven't read the book yet, but I cannot wait to read it as soon as I have the opportunity. I know it's going to be amazing because her first book was amazing. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew that it existed. It's out there. If you are expecting a child or if you have an infant, then it's definitely going to be a resource you're going to want to check out. I have put links to all of the books that I mentioned in today's video in the description box down below for you to check out. And if you are interested in learning more about Montessori at home or positive discipline parenting, I offer a couple of e-courses that walk you through it step by step. So I will also be sure to leave a link to that in the description box too, in case you're interested in learning more about it. And just in case you're new to my channel, I also wanted to let you know that this video is part of a much larger series on this YouTube channel called Montessori at Home, which is aimed at providing practical tips and advice for busy parents like you and I for implementing Montessori at home with our children. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in watching more of, then you might consider subscribing to my channel. This way you don't miss a new video, because I do upload a new one just like this one every single week. Thank you so much for watching today, and I'll see you next time. Bye.